everyone. If you're watching, hope you're having a great day. Just going to talk a little bit about starting an arrangement, how I put something together. I guess it depends on if a group comes to me and gives me a song idea. If they come to me with an idea over email or they give me a call or whatever, I tell them I'll check it out, send me a YouTube link or video link or something, or an audio recording, so I can go check it out and see what I think about it. And aside from talking about logistics, for time frame and all of that, if I can even work it into my schedule, the first thing is it going to be a song that I think would be interesting to arrange? So this is the perspective of if someone brings me a song. So I'll take it and check it all out, and then I'll probably just sit on it for a day or two. If I'm not sure right away, if it's something that I think would be fun, I'll sit on it for a day or two, and I'll just go from there. But typically I can know pretty quick if I have a recording, if it's something I think that would be fun for me to do. I tend to like certain kinds of songs, certain kinds of ballads, certain kinds of fast songs that are most enjoyable. But what I'm looking for is, I want to hear the melody. I think melody first is what I'm listening for, and how it moves through the different harmony in the song. So for instance, just pick a song I've done here, Footloose. Okay, so Footloose, when I first started thinking about that song, I listened to the recording. Obviously I knew the song from growing up in the 80s, and so I checked it out and listened to it, and then I went to the piano and sat down and just kind of plucked out the melody, and to hear the pillar chords of the chorus, the verse, bridge, whatever there is. So that's what I would do with a song. And for instance, in that song, I've noticed right away the melody is real simple, especially in the chorus. So that would be a challenge. So if someone came to me and said, "Hey, can you arrange that song?" I'd be thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna have to figure out how to work that challenge, the chorus out, because it's all like one note, one or two or three notes, and that's it. They kind of repeat. And then the harmony does move through 1 and 4 a lot, and then goes to 5 in the chorus. 1, 4, and 5. There are places, as I'm listening to the melody, I could kind of find places where I can hear opportunity for 2/7 or 6/7 that would feel kind of natural through a passing phrase in the middle of the chorus. So I'm thinking, here's the main chunk of the song. Can I make the main chunks, can they work in the barbershop style? And if they can, that's one big step out of the way. So for Footloose, I had to decide if I could make that the verse, actually not the chorus. Yeah, no, sorry, no, that's right, the chorus. Tonight I gotta cut loose, footloose, kick off his Sunday shoes, it's basically 2 notes, 3 and 4, or mi and fa, however you want to look at it, just back and forth. And then it might go, actually I think it's those 2 notes almost the whole chorus. That's kind of crazy. So it's a weird, unique situation with that song. But anyway, if I can make the big chunk work, the big section work, the big sections work, then I kind of feel, that's kind of the big factor to decide, can it work? So in that case, I had to figure out if I could work some things in the bass to move around to make the chorus work, and will those notes of the melody allow for some different harmonic variety and other options, especially circle of fifth motion. And then the same thing with the verses. And in that song, the verses were a little more diverse, had more interest in the melody and harmony also. I'm just the verse allowed for some natural circle of fifth motion in a couple of places. Alright, so it's one of the first things I do when I'm deciding if it's going to work. I'll check it out, the melody and the harmony for the big chunks of the song. And also, I'll listen for, is the melody can you harmonize the melody? Or are there too many swipes and melismas and like embellished things that the solo singer does, where they roll off or up and down on one note and on one vocal syllable, one vowel target. You hear that a lot in R&B, gospel, blues songs. So if there's a lot of that stuff going on, I have to decide if it's something that I have to keep in there. It has to stay. If that's key to the song, that all of these little rolling, embellished parts of the melody are important, can I keep that stuff in the melody and still arrange the song in the barbershop style for contest? Or can I tweak those things enough or some to make it work, to give some longer sustained notes instead of a passage that's constantly rolling? So that's something to consider. Most melodies that you see on a piano vocal chart or on a recording, they're not going to be all over the place unless you get, like I said, into R&B and some gospel, soul singing. Mariah Carey does a lot of that. Christina Aguilera today, other current singers, but also if you go back to Ella Fitzgerald and singers from the past, 60, 70 years, you've heard a lot of it. But prior to that, you didn't hear as much embellishment unless you were listening to gospel singers, gospel blues singers in the, from 1930s and previous, I guess. My times might be off in there a little bit, but you get the idea. So I'm listening for that stuff, and can I make it work? So once I figure all that out, one of the other things to consider is the rhythm. And if it's let's say it's a fast song, is there a style of band or style of rhythm or feel or groove that is really key to the song, maybe the original recording, that would really need to be replicated in an arrangement if it's going to be put in a contest setting as a serious thing? For instance, go back to Footloose. Can that song, it's a rock driving beat, feel with snare drum on 2 and 4, so that's kind of dominates the whole song. So can that be transferred over, that feel of the song, the general feel of that rock song, be transferred to 4 parts? And so that's something that has to be decided. If not, is there a way to do it some other way? Do you just say no to the song, or can it be done in some kind of parody way to where you put four parts to it and it just sounds funny because it's not meant to sound like the original song? And that's where you get in some of the stuff of like Main Street did that was so genius when Clay Hine arranged it, the pop songs medley and stuff, because most of those songs weren't meant to sound exactly like the original, but they were close enough with the melody and the harmony that it sounded like the original, but also had the barbershop kind of cliche kind of barbershop feel to it, of old school, old timey kind of barbershop kind of sound, which is hilarious, but also really just fun and interesting. That's one way to go with it, and it obviously did great for them. But if you go the other route where you're really trying to do a rip of the original feel of the song and not make fun of it, then you have to consider, can that work? Can the groove and everything from that song work in the style? Because if you try, And I mean, if you do it, there's a good chance, and you feel successful about it. If you do it, you feel great about it, and you think it's working. Yeah, it could work. It could pass and be okay on the stage, but you're also running the risk of having other people look at it and say, "Man, that just did not work. That was just that just sounds so funny in the style." And that's just a risk you take if you want to do those types of songs. So, and not all songs that someone brings to you, whenever I pick up a new tune that I'm considering arranging, they're not all going to fall into that category where you have to look at, well, what's the groove and all of that, because they're not all going to be rock or pop songs. There'll be other things. So, that's one way of looking at it, starting a new song, new arrangement. And if it's a ballad or a song that doesn't have such a prominent style that has to be present, like a lot of Latin songs, you really got to feel the Latin groove. Latin, just using the term loosely, songs, Afro-Cuban songs, music from Brazil, Central America, salsa, samba, that kind of stuff. With those grooves, you kind of have to try and mimic that groove when possible. But if you can't, if the song doesn't require anything like that, it's just kind of a straightforward song, then you're just down to, will the melody and the chords work, and look at the large sections. Another thing to consider, though, is are the sections that exist in the original song, recording or the piano vocal, whatever you're referencing up front, is there enough there by itself with that song to make an entire piece, to make an entire arrangement that would be satisfying to an audience member to hear? Probably the shortest you'd see might be 2 minutes. There are a lot of 2-minute uptunes or ballads, maybe even a little shorter than that sometimes, but it's rare. Up to whatever the big giant long songs that are 4.5 to 6.5 minutes, whatever, long. And is there enough in that original song to use and spread out and make it work? Or would you have to write some extra material, in which case oftentimes that extra added material is added in the introduction as a setup, and then maybe even repeated or elaborated on in the middle, kind of a middle long section of some sort, and then maybe back in the tag. So you can add stuff in different places. Typically you're adding new material that can kind of be woven throughout it and not just thrown in there for no reason, but it would all fit within the theme of the original song. But most of the time you try and weave it in a couple of spots throughout the song if you're adding new things. Maybe the difference there might be that most arrangements have some kind of introduction to them, and the introduction is typically something you make up. It's added material, but it's not always as elegant, and it doesn't have to be as elaborate and deep as if you're making up an entire new section for the song, for the arrangement. So if you're making up a whole new section to shove in the middle of the arrangement, then it needs to be well thought out, and it needs to be it just needs to be smooth, and it needs to fit well within everything. And then you kind of come back and use that for the introduction. Or if you're going to start with something, if you're going to add stuff to the middle, maybe you start with that idea in the beginning, and that's your intro, and then you use it again in the middle and add on to it or whatever, and then maybe it comes back at the end intermixed with the regular song. And anyway, so that's something to consider. Is there enough there on its own, or do you have to add extra material? If you're doing a medley, or if maybe it's a song that you could add another song to, in the middle as a and make a medley out of it, and the second song is just kind of a little spot in the middle or something, and then you kind of splice them together near the end. Sometimes there's no clean-cut way of just upfront saying, well, this is exactly what I'm going to do. You just kind of get a good idea of what you need or what you don't need. And in this case, like I said, you're thinking through harmony, chords, the style. Can you make the style work? You mean the original style of the rock song or whatever it is? Can it work? Can you recreate that style? And do you have to add anything extra to it? What are you going to do? Can you use it as is, or do you have to add extra material? And then I think, along the whole time you're thinking about it, if you know the group, if you know who you're arranging for, you kind of, right up front, you decide you're kind of a musical advisor for the group too. At least I feel that way a lot. Thinking, will this fit their personality? Does the group care whether it fits their personality? Maybe they don't care. They just want to do something fun, and this would be a great song. But they, that's something to consider. Does it? And you talk to the group about that. You talk with them and figure that out. What do you all think about this? Is this, you love it because you want to try something fun? Is this kind of like what you've always done in the past? Is this a new thing, new to you? Where is it? How does this fit within all the current repertoire that you all sing? And I guess the reason I ask that is because sometimes I want to find that out, because if it's a group I'm not familiar with, maybe they just want to do something crazy and outrageous, and they don't care how it fits in the style. I don't know. And sometimes you get that kind of idea, but they just don't care. They just want to do it because it's just going to be fun. But other groups are going to have more desire and care and input into why they chose the song. Or maybe they've given you a couple of song options and you're thinking about, a couple of things and comparing. So sometimes you end up advising, I end up that way all the time, to advise the group on which song would be best for them. If it's a seasoned group that's been around for a while and they have a noticeable personality that the audience likes, you can kind of tell right away if it's going to work for them. But I think when the song feels best to me is when I feel like it's really going to work for the group, and I feel like all of the elements that I've analyzed up front will be, I've got a good idea that I can put it all together real well. That's when it becomes the most fun. When any of that is kind of unstable and unsure, then it just makes the arranging process less fun, and I don't know, you just have to buckle down and inspire yourself sometimes. But I guess that happens sometimes for me too, but not all the time. Usually I make sure it's a song that I really want to do before I do it. Now, if I don't have a group in mind that comes to me and says, hey, can we do this song? Can you arrange this for us? And I'm just picking a song, I guess sky's the limit. You just do what you want. If I'm looking for music, I'll get online. I'll get on and go to YouTube, and I guess YouTube's kind of the go-to place nowadays for previewing songs. But I'll just listen to different versions of a song and see what I think about it, and consider if it's something I can do based on kind of all the same criteria for if somebody brings me a song. Except for I typically maybe I don't have a group in mind already. if I'm just arranging it just because. Sometimes I'll give myself parameters, like, hey, I'm going to make this kind of a vocal spectrum type of arrangement. It's going to be jazzy, or a barbershop with this type of a sound or this type of a feel. Other times I don't. I used to just sit down and play and fool around with chords on the piano and just see what sounded good, and just then maybe consider some lyrics or whatever. Maybe that's coming at it from too much of just a composition viewpoint, but if I've got the sheet music for a song and I really want to arrange it, and I have no group, then I'll just sit down, play through it, see if it's something I like, and then if I anticipate maybe trying to give it to a group or something, then I'll consider their ranges, or just some generic ranges, like do I want to put the bass, and this is for men, do I want to put the bass below an F or not, or should I even keep it higher, like at a G as the lowest note? Typically F is fine though for most true basses, and for female higher voices, I would consider, is going down to C going to be a problem, because C is just feels low for most groups nowadays. So E flat maybe being the lowest note that I might go, just with a general female arrangement. But I'll just consider those things, and maybe there's a group I can think of that has those ranges, and I can work with that group in mind, their ranges in mind for this song. So anyway, it's a little different approach when I don't have a group that I'm arranging for. But that doesn't happen very often. Usually everything I'm doing has been asked of me, so I'm constantly kind of in that process of, what have they given me? Is it going to work? Can I make it work? How's it going to work? And I think one other kind of big thing that's part of the process is, if the group comes and says, we want this song, we want to sing it at this venue, we want to do it at this venue for this reason, and so I might talk to them about the contest or the show purpose. Is it just for a show or for competition? And if so, that can have some effect on how I piece the arrangement together. But all that stuff, find out up front, their ranges, their strengths and their weaknesses individually and as a quartet. What's good to avoid, what things would sound weak, what things sound the strongest for them. Sorry, my windshield wipers were, I just realized they were probably on the whole time. Hear this annoying sound in the back. We're on the way back from Nashville from a cross-country meet. My son running with Vanderbilt. Running at Vanderbilt with Moorhead. And he did real well. Really muddy race today. Anyway, those are some thoughts on how I start a new song, especially when somebody brings me one and asks me about it. Before I commit to it, I want to make sure I'm going to be okay with it, and I just want to find out those things. And sometimes I know right away. I just know this will work great, especially if it's a good recording. Other times I have to go back and really think about it, maybe listen to some other recordings, just analyze it more. But getting started is sometimes one of the hardest things, and I won't lie, it's not always fun trying to figure out if something's going to work. But the songs that do work great, that I do commit to, it's just so fulfilling. It's just a blast to work on, and to just put the chords together, put the rhythm and the harmony and melody, everything together, and see it all come together. And yeah, that's the upfront process. Hope that's helpful. If you have any other thoughts, shoot me a email at aaronkdale@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment here, and I will share some more another time. That's all.